Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking leadership lesson number 6, the reality of organizational culture.
Okay, let's dive into this. This insight comes directly from Mayank Trivedi's Lead, Improve, Grow page, a space you probably already know for delivering incredibly practical insights on process excellence and people leadership. The core thesis here? It's blunt, but man, is it necessary. Culture is shaped entirely by what leaders tolerate. You know, as a leader, it's so easy to fall into this trap of thinking you create your culture purely through positive, proactive actions. But this lesson flips that assumption completely on its head. It forces us to realize that the boundaries of our team's culture are actually drawn by the negative behaviors we fail to correct. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly why tolerance is the most powerful and honestly potentially destructive tool in your arsenal.
Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room and just completely debunking a massive corporate myth. As the text from our source material plainly states, organizational culture is absolutely not defined by vision statements, policies, or those motivational posters displayed on office walls. We've all seen them, right? You walk into a corporate lobby and see these beautifully designed graphics touting integrity, excellence, and teamwork. But let's be real with ourselves for a second. A glossy poster does not dictate how a team operates when the pressure is on. A 50-page HR policy document doesn't determine how your sales team treats operations when a massive Q4 deadline is looming over everyone's head. That passive corporate fluff, it's just marketing. It's not culture.
And that brings us right to the divide between intention and execution. The myth relies on passive, static elements, like those vision statements and posters we just talked about. But the reality? Well, the reality is that culture is a living, breathing ecosystem. It's defined by the behaviors that leaders consistently encourage, reinforce, or, and this is the absolute critical part, choose to ignore. You see, culture isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's constantly being adjusted by the real-time actions and inactions of management. Think about it. If your stated corporate value is excellence, but leadership ignores sloppy, error-ridden work just to meet an aggressive deadline, your culture isn't excellence. Actually, scratch that. It's more like your culture is convenience.
Every single team and every single industry develops standards over time. It's just a fundamental rule of human group dynamics. A vacuum can't exist, norms are always going to form. So Mayank Trivedi poses a really crucial question. Are your team's standards being shaped intentionally or accidentally? I want you to take a second and reflect on your own teams right now. Are the unwritten rules of how your team communicates, how they handle conflict, and how they hit deadlines a result of your deliberate design? Or have they just kind of haphazardly evolved because nobody stepped in to steer the ship? Because, spoiler alert, accidental cultures are rarely high-performing ones. Let's look at the heavy cost of passive leadership and this idea of an accidental culture. Our source material points out specific negative behaviors, things like missed commitments, poor communication, a lack of accountability, and inconsistent performance. When leaders tolerate these things, those behaviors don't just stay isolated incidents. No, they cross over and gradually become the accepted norm. It's almost like a virus. Imagine a scenario where your top-performing salesperson constantly belittles the marketing team, but management never addresses it because, hey, that rep always hits their quota. Very quickly, the entire company realizes that revenue excuses toxicity. Your passive tolerance just literally created a new, destructive standard for the whole group.
So, the crucial point is this profoundly sobering thought for anyone in management. Every standard you ignore becomes a standard you accept. I want you to really let that sink in. Silence is not neutral. In leadership, silence is compliance. If you see a toxic interaction between two colleagues and you look the other way, you've just officially endorsed that behavior as acceptable within your culture. You just lowered the bar. This means leadership requires immense vigilance. You can't just coast. You have to actively guard the standards of your organization every single day.
But you know, this isn't just about stopping the bad. It's about aggressively championing the good. When leaders consistently reinforce accountability, collaboration, professionalism, and continuous improvement, the entire environment shifts. By publicly praising a project manager who, say, pauses a product launch to fix a critical quality issue, you ensure that high standards become the natural way of working. You literally have to be just as loud about the behaviors you want to see as you are strict about the behaviors you simply won't tolerate. To understand why this is so wildly effective, we have to look at the psychology of the team. Throughout his leadership journey, the author of our source material notes universal truth. People pay incredibly close attention to actions. Think of it as a 3-step observation process unfolding in real time within your office. Step 1, your team is always watching what you do. Step 2, they acutely observe what you choose to recognize and praise. And Step 3, which is probably the most important, they notice exactly what you choose to overlook.
Through these daily micro-observations, employees quickly and very accurately figure out which behaviors are truly valued, completely regardless of what the official company handbook says. This requires a fundamental shift in how we view culture building. Culture is built through daily decisions, not occasional speeches. You absolutely cannot rally a team in a quarterly town hall meeting, give a soaring motivational speech about operational excellence, and expect the culture to just magically shift overnight. Speeches fade the very second people return to their desks and face their overflowing inboxes. What actually builds the culture are the hundreds of micro decisions made on a random Tuesday. How does management react when a key client is furious? How is failure handled during a critical executive project review? Those daily, granular decisions, those are the real bricks and mortar of your team's culture.
And because it's built daily, there's a direct chronological timeline at play here. The standards leaders accept today become the culture their teams experience tomorrow. There's no delay. There's no buffer zone. If you compromise on quality today just to get a product out the door, you are actively writing the code for a culture of mediocrity tomorrow. As a leader, you're constantly borrowing from the future. The discipline and the strict adherence to standards that you enforce right now, in this very moment, is exactly what will protect your team's working environment and operational excellence in the months and years to come.
Ultimately, this lesson demands that we redefine our core understanding of what it means to lead. Leadership is not just about setting expectations. Honestly, anyone can write a list of rules. Anyone can set a high initial goal. True leadership is about the exhausting, repetitive, and absolutely vital work of consistently reinforcing those expectations. It's the follow-through. It's having the tough conversations when standards slip, and enthusiastically celebrating the wins when standards are met. If you only set expectations but never actually reinforce them, you aren't really a leader. You're just a historian documenting what you hoped would happen.
As we wrap up this explainer, remember that the entire philosophy behind Lead, Improve, Grow is pushing professionals toward true cultural excellence through honest reflection. So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Based on your own experience in the trenches of the corporate world, what behavior do you believe has the biggest impact on team culture? Is it something positive you've seen reinforced, or something negative you've seen tolerated? Think about your daily decisions and always remember, every standard you ignore becomes a standard you accept.